My name is Denise Jordan. I'm part of the Fort Lauderdale Chamber and Deerfield Beach Council. So today is building your resiliency, managing stress from the inside out. Today's discussion is made possible by our wonderful partner, FHE Health, located in Deerfield Beach. Thank you for joining us. 31,536 seconds. That represents and marks the 365 days of a global pandemic. We went from the abundance to disruption overnight. We were shut down, locked down, and we learned the true meaning of gratitude of our essential workers. If you recall, right, at 7 p.m. every day for a long time, there would be pots hitting against the walls and people shouting and across the entire world as we thanked so many of those healthcare providers for their courage, their tenacity, their grit, as they placed themselves in harm's way every day. You know, the essentials of toilet paper and empty shelves. The supply and demand. This wasn't a hurricane where we replenished things. This was our mental tsunami. Profound shifts in work, relegated to working remotely from home, and for many of us with children, mommy, mommy, daddy, daddy, I need. And you know, on those Zoom calls, we saw kids with clothes and without clothes. The rite of passage for high school and college students without proms and graduations, self-care out the window, men with longer hair and beards, women without our weekly benefits to getting to the grooming, and then our self-proclaimed bubbles to protect us from getting into contact with anyone who was asymptomatic, grandparents without the ability to have any kind of relationships with their grandchildren, or parents who had children that, you know, saw them outside the windows or doors. Our loved ones who contracted the virus, our families who couldn't enter the hospital. So many of us said goodbye on our iPads and our mobile phones. The very anchors of our lives disrupted. Time stood still. Restless nights, nightmares. Our workout regimes were even altered. You know how our families, you know, talked about, you know, our grandparents or our parents talked about World War II. You know, we turn on our devices or our telephones or televisions, and we'd find food lines. Food insecurity? Who would have thought? That wasn't enough. The summer of 2020, there were massive protests after the George Floyd killing. During the pandemic, some good things came out of it, but we've all experienced isolation, anxiety, grief, the lack of those touch points, those hugs, low-grade depression. Even our former First Lady acknowledged depression. It doesn't have any economic boundaries. As we walk through this journey, there is renewed sense of awareness and appreciation. Have you noticed? You know, all the things we've taken for granted, the birds singing, sunrise, sunsets, the Zoom calls with our friends for happy hours, funerals, temples, services. And then there's that proverbial question that we now ask each other. Are you okay? Are you really okay? So we're here today to unpack and give you some tools to deal with our array of emotions. We offer you a few minutes of self-care. I hope you will take some notes and participate. I'm delighted to introduce our speakers today. Dr. Nelson is the Director of Clinical Services at FHE Health. He's trained in integration of psychology and medical practice and is a specialist in cognitive behavioral therapy. Dr. Molly Birkholm is a keynote speaker and author, a talk show host, podcast called Conversations That Matter, provides resiliency training for Fortune 500 companies, and the co-founder for the nonprofit Warriors at Ease. Please welcome Dr. Nelson and Molly Birkholm.
Thank you, Denise. It's such an honor to be here. Molly is a superstar, so I will try to give information, but I'm sure she will do it in a much more energetic way. But I like that we have a small group this morning, so we can be a little bit informal. But I really want to kind of start off with, as Denise shared, kind of what our experience has been over the past year. For a lot of people, this has been a very eye-opening experience. And in what we might call regular life, for a lot of us, we just kind of go through the motions. It's kind of like autopilot. And when you have something that kind of changes everything that operates in our lives, there's going to be a disruption. And there's a normal emotional response to that disruption. So feeling stressed or feeling down or feeling loneliness because things have changed is normal. And it's important that we all recognize that just because we might be having some symptoms or not being our normal self, or our routines have been broken up, that doesn't mean that we're going crazy, that we're falling apart, that, again, it's time to get on medication or something. Really, when we talked about the body, mind, spirit, breath connection, for a lot of times these disruptions actually are signposts, and they tell us that we need to take care of ourselves. And how we do that is very important. And for a lot of us, we may not be used to giving ourselves time. It may seem selfish. We're, masters of taking care of our businesses, our families, our friends, our customers, whoever it may be, but really having to stop for a minute and go, well, what do I need right now? As Denise said, when we ask that question, how are you? The question is, how am I? Because if you don't start with that question, nobody else can make you feel better. You've got to do that for yourself. And taking time and using tools that we know work for the body, the mind, and the spirit are very important for us. So I'm going to talk a little bit about stress this morning, because that's a pretty easily identifiable kind of emotion that people have been expressing. We've definitely seen the headlines. We know that alcohol use, domestic violence, child abuse, depression, anxiety, all of these things have gone through the roof. And so human beings are creatures that try to deal with living in our own skin. And whatever we're experiencing at the time, we tend to go to the path of least resistance. And so we try to find the thing that's going to make us feel better, although it may not help us to get better. And so a lot of times we find kind of short-term ways to manage our stress that are generally not going to help us long-term. It's important to recognize that stress in the body affects us physically and mentally. It can change the way our sleep patterns and our eating patterns are. It can change the way we behave in relationships. It can take away our energy and focus. It can make us more susceptible to disease and to illness. There's a lot of things that are really going to be under this umbrella of stress. No one dies of stress, but it does take an impact. And when we have what's called chronic stress, which is stress that goes for a long period of time, we see changes in the body. One of the interesting things medically is that the body releases a particular chemical called cortisol when you're stressed. If you have a big tummy and you can't seem to lose the weight around your midsection, that can be a sign of stress. because that's the release of cortisol. And so you actually get fat buildup throughout the organs in the body because the body is trying to store fat for energy because it senses a danger. And so it's a very interesting process that we notice, again, the body is directly impacted by what our brain is telling ourselves and how it's dealing with our emotional states. So it's really important that you can't just take one thing and check that off and it's just going to take everything away. The idea with this is about consistency. So you can't do it once a month. That gym membership that you got and you're thinking, oh, I'm going to be ready for my beach body for the summer, but you go once a month. Well, it's probably not going to make a whole lot of difference. So, you're going to be in the one piece and not the two piece when the summer hits. The idea, same thing for a lot of people when they start, beginning of the year, oh, I'm going to journal every day, or, oh, I'm going to meditate every morning, or I'm going to go to my yoga class. And again, most gyms report that, January, they get the most registrations. By February 1st, those people aren't showing up. And so even the best laid plans without consistency is not going to show the benefit for our bodies and our minds. So we need to be thinking about ways each day that we first raise our awareness. Is there a problem? Am I stressed? Am I in a bad place? Am I not feeling like I can get the things done that I need to do? And that awareness is our first step. And so I always recommend to patients that they take a few moments each day just to touch base with themselves. This isn't judging. This isn't drawing conclusions. This isn't deciding how to change the world. But what it is it's just an opportunity to check in with yourself. We do this with our kids. We do this with our employees. We do this with our spouse, hopefully. And when we do that, we kind of get information. And the same thing is true for us. We often hear about burnout. We hear about people who, used to call them nervous breakdowns, all these different things. You've had this kind of, a big blow up at work or maybe in your relationships. And again, those are signs that you're not being aware of what's happening. And it's going from a 2 or 3, which you could probably manage, to a 9 or a 10 on a 10-point scale. And so all of a sudden, you're dealing with a lot of crises and putting out fires when maybe if we had stopped a little earlier, recognized a problem, we could have done something. It's like kind of if your kids are in school, it's important at the beginning of the semester, if they have a bad test score, that we start doing something about math, not waiting till they fail the class. And the same thing is true of our bodies and our minds. So that awareness is something that you can start to develop. And I usually say, like around meal times or morning, lunch, and before bed, touch base with yourself. How am I feeling? How am I feeling physically? Is my body tense? Do I even know what my body would feel like if it wasn't tense? Do I recognize how I feel right now? Is my stomach turning? Are my shoulders hurt? Again, are my eyes heavy? Touch base with how you do physically. Then think about emotionally how you're doing. Do you have a lot of racing thoughts? Are you worried about a lot of things? Are you kind of lost in, you kind of go into this dazed state? And often when people are watching a television show, it's really funny because we actually have a brain mechanism called dissociation. And so if our brain can only do one thing at a time, when you think about our focus, multitasking is not really accurate. You just go, multitasking is going from one thing very fast to another thing and back and back and back. The idea is that your mind can only do so much. And so if you're worried about tomorrow's meeting, you're watching a TV show, you might actually forget the commercials on and you forget what TV show you're watching. Have you ever been in the car and you're thinking about your day and what's going on, and you really don't remember the drive of getting from point A to point B? Now, you did it safely, but you weren't conscious about it. And that idea of being conscious of what's going on for us emotionally is very important. There's ways that you can be able to calm yourself and things that you can do to be able to allow your mind to be more at rest. But those things, if we don't do them consistently, can really affect us. So I'm going to talk a little bit about breath and how breath is helpful. And I'm going to give you two things that you can practice on a regular basis that are going to be helpful for you when we talk about this body, mind, and breath connection. So first off, it's really important to recognize that nothing operates in a silo. So again, your breathing affects your emotions and your body's response. When you think about stress and what you're worrying about, that affects your body because your body is trained to respond to your brain. So if you're stressed, then your body is going to sense danger and it's going to change the way it processes. It actually releases chemicals into the body. Many of us know the fight or flight response. And this is that the brain says there's a danger, so your body releases chemicals so that your body is able to run away from the danger. That worked if you're out in the woods and a bear's coming at you, that's great. But when you're worried about your 401k and you're sitting on the couch with your spouse, all of a sudden your body doesn't need to do anything. And those chemicals actually build up over time, and they can become somewhat toxic to the body. They affect the way that our organs work. We can really see that there's a connection between this. And one of the great things that we now know, and many people practice, even though it's been around for a long time, is that breath can actually change the release of those chemicals, and it can change the way the body's response is in a specific situation. So it's really interesting. So there's 4 ways that you can actually develop energy in your body. You can get from food, sleep, breath, and a sense of happiness or contentment. You can actually breathe yourself into feeling more energy. You can exercise and you can feel more energy. You can get a good night's sleep and you feel more energy. You can eat healthy. And we all know if you've ever even done a short term of trying to eat healthier, all of a sudden I really do feel different. McDonald's every meal makes my body feel different than when I'm eating my salads without the heavy ranch dressing. It just happens, and we can see it pretty fast. If you go without food for a day, especially when you're stressed, sometimes our appetite is suppressed, or when we're depressed, it can be suppressed. You feel different because of that. So it's really important that we kind of recognize that there are ways that we can be able to make this connection. And by making that connection, we can do something for our overall health. So there are a couple things that I recommend just as general practice. One is be careful that you're not getting too much information. Stop watching the news all day. There are so many things beyond our control that we cannot fix, we cannot do anything about, that we don't want to take what limited focus we have in our life and then put it out there for something else that we can't do anything about. Think about your small circle of what you need to do. Reduce the news, maybe have a couple of trusted sources, but try to decrease getting all this information in. Second thing is to get good sleep. Your body really needs restorative sleep, and that comes from a regular sleep routine. The body and every organ in it has a clock, and it runs on a clock. We know that when daylight savings times changes and our sunlight goes away, we can tell a difference. We can tell a difference if we've been sitting in an office all day under fluorescent lights. That makes a huge difference. A lot of people are noticing a change from working from home, or as I like to say, sleeping at work, that a lot of people they say, oh, this feels very different to me. And setting my routines feels different than just being in the office. And so it's really important that you go to bed and you wake up at the same time each day, 7 days a week. It's important that you don't nap. If you do nap, not more than 15 or 20 minutes. All of this upsets the rhythm and the cycles of the body. And if you get into a regular sleep and your body knows that it's going to get that sleep, over time, your body will actually get deeper and more restorative sleep. The third thing is exercise, being able to do something physically. Again, we want to get rid of those stress chemicals. Exercise, cardiovascular exercise is one of the best ways that you can do that. And then the other thing is to really develop some breathing techniques that you can use anywhere at any time that are very helpful. And I'm going to share one with you this morning. So have you ever wondered why we have two nostrils? You know, when we have two nostrils, we could just have a big hole in the middle and just breathe air in, but we have two nostrils that actually each nostril does different. So the right nostril gives the left side of our brain oxygen, and our left nostril gives our right side of our brain oxygen. Scientists have actually seen that if you breathe more from your right nose, you will increase your metabolism. Very interesting. That there is the body is a very fine-tuned motor car. It has got the best engine in the world, and it is finely tuned if it's working well. So that's what an interesting thing, that our breath can have that much effect. Our breath can control our emotions. And so we can actually look at people who have anxiety or stress, and they do something we call shallow breathing. They get very short bursts, usually from the top of their lungs. When they do that, that actually signals the body for their fight or flight response. So if we have deep breaths, we actually tell our body that stress, the danger, whatever, is not that bad, and it will turn off the stress chemicals. We don't have to react to that situation. So one of the things that I try to teach people, and after 20 years in this field and doing, you know, with medications and all kinds of different treatments, sometimes the simplest things are the best. And it's really great to empower ourselves that before we rush off to a psychiatrist's office, we can actually do some things at home and help ourselves. So with the deep breathing technique, and it's called diaphragmatic breathing, and it helps to reduce stress and anxiety. I actually have patients, I'll sometimes have women who come and they're wanting to get pregnant, and so they have to get off certain psychiatric medications. And I use this technique for them. I have some people who, because of abuse of medicines, will need to get off of those medications. And I use this as a go-to technique. And so diaphragmatic breathing is very simple. Put your feet on the floor, put your arms at your side, and we're going to practice diaphragmatic breathing. So you breathe in through your nose for a count of 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Hold it, and then you breathe out through your mouth in a slow measured breath for a count of 10. So we're going to practice it here. Breathe in through your nose. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Hold it. Out through your mouth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. In through your nose. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Hold it. Out through your mouth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. When you breathe in, I want your stomach to go out. Think about you're drawing that breath into the deep parts of your legs, and your stomach should go out when you breathe in. Try to practice that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Hold it. Out through your mouth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's really important. And if you do this, even for a minute or two, anywhere, in the car, waiting in the doctor's office, at the grocery store, checkout line, nobody's going to know you're doing it. So you're not going to look, you know, it's not like, you know, you know, and you're doing your meditation. It really works. And the more you do it consistently, it actually turns off the stress chemicals, allows your body to feel more relaxed. It's a very practical thing. The more you do it, the better off you are. It's especially beneficial if you're having anxiety before you go to bed. If you're feeling bad when you're going to bed, then you're going to actually, a lot of times it's not a sleep disorder, it's actually anxiety. If you do this in bed and you focus on listening to your breath, it will become rhythmic and it will actually help your body to fall asleep. So that's one technique. Second one is I'm going to give you is something that we call progressive muscle relaxation. And one of the things that's really important is that our body holds stress. And so again, we're going to be working on our awareness. Ooh, I'm feeling stressed. Well, what do I do about that? Yes, you can go for a walk, but sometimes that's not always practical. So we use a technique called progressive muscle relaxation, and it's a way of giving your body kind of a reset when you're feeling stressed. Now, each one of us carries stress in different parts of our body that we may notice. Now, you may get tense in your shoulders, maybe it's in your neck. Some people will kind of feel a little achy in their arms. It doesn't really matter where you're experiencing the stress. What it's a sign is that your body has stress. And so we want to do something that's going to help your whole body, not just focus on one area. Kind of like when you go to the gym. A lot of people say, I want to lose my stomach. And so they'll go and they'll say, I'm going to do a lot of crunches. Well, the problem is that the body doesn't work that way. You can't spot reduce. You can't just lose fat in one area. You can't just focus on one thing. It's a whole system. Remember, the mind, the body, the spirit, it's all connected. So progressive muscle relaxation is pretty straightforward. It takes a little bit longer than the breath, but you put your feet on the floor, close your eyes, put your arms on the arms or to the side of you. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start at the top of the body, and we are going to tense and relax the part of the body that we're on. And when we relax it, we're going to imagine in our mind that the energy from that part of the body is flowing down through us, through our legs, down to our feet, and the energy goes out through the floor. So we're going to start at the top of our head. And so I want you to tense your forehead and relax it. And think of the energy going from that all the way through our bodies, out through our legs, and out through our feet. Then I want you to tense your face and then relax. That energy again dissipates through our body. I want you to tense your ears and relax and let that energy flow. Tense your jaw and relax. Let that energy flow through you. Tense your neck and relax and let that flow through you. Tense your shoulders and relax. Let the energy flow out. Tense your chest and relax and let that flow through your body. Tense your upper arms and relax. Feel that tension going back through the body, out through your feet. Do your front forearms. Tense and relax. The energy goes out. Do your hands. Tense and relax. The energy goes through your body and out through your feet. Tense your stomach and relax. Let the energy flow out. Tense your waist. Let your energy flow out. Tense your buttocks. Tense, relax. Let that energy flow out. Your thighs. Tense, relax. Imagine that energy flowing out, down through your legs, through your feet, and out from your body. Tense your calves and relax. And feel that energy going out through the bottom of your feet. Now, tense your feet and relax. And feel that energy going out through the bottom of your feet. Take a moment to just breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth, rhythmically for 3 or 4 times. Release it from your body. And now you can wake up. Did anybody notice that they felt a little different? It's really a neat way of both being very present with your physical body, as well as giving you kind of a reset, because you'll notice what's tense, what's not, but you're making a conscious effort to relax your body. Between the awareness, taking care of yourself, as we talked about with sleep, exercise, and food, you're reducing the news, and breathing exercise, you're going to give yourself something you can do. Then practicing the muscle relaxation as well is going to be very beneficial. So that's my component, and I'm going to hand it over to the very skillful Molly, and love to hear what she has to say.
Thank you so much for that, Dr. Nelson. It's so nice to hear these things coming from you through the way in which you embody it and share it with the world. So thank you. And usually I have to do a lot of that myself. So it's so nice. I can just float in now and do the rest of it. So thank you. We should do that more often. 1-2 tag team. Thank you for that. And thanks to all of you for the quality of your presence. And for the new friends who are joining us, welcome Marcia and Alice and Steve. Good to see your beautiful face, Dave. Dave is modeling the importance of cardiovascular. He's got the bike there behind him. So great, thank you. I hope to meet you all in person someday. I know we've met a couple of you in previous events. It's good to be with the South Florida community. It's not so often that I get to be in my own tribe, so it feels good to be here. What I would love to, I totally support absolutely everything that Dr. Nelson shared, and I completely full-heartedly agree. I think the breath is a superpower. The more you harness the power of your breath, the more you will realize that it quite actually has the ability to change every single aspect of your life. How you focus, how you sleep, how you work, how you play, all of it. It is, I have an 11-year-old son, so we're deep in Star Wars land right now. And it's like when I hear them talking about the force, the breath is the force. The breath is the way in which we connect with the world around us, with the plants and the trees and other humans. And as we've seen through COVID, we also realize the power of the breath to also spread disease. So we have to think about the breath consciously in a way that we never have before. And so I think that opportunity is twofold. So yes, maybe we can do another session sometime on breathing and share some of our favorite aspects of it. But what I'd love to speak about today is the power of connection. Because when we speak about resilience, connection, what Dr. Nelson just led us through was also a practice of connection. Through connecting with the breath, we're connecting with how the breath affects the mind and the body, and how the body and mind reflect the breath. Those two have a direct and proportionate relationship. If you want, and this, when I say the breath is a superpower, you can also connect with other people by perceiving their breath. So if you're in a meeting with someone or a negotiation and you're wondering how it's landing, look at the way they're breathing. Look at the way you're breathing. If you're noticing your child after a day of school seems like their breath, like Dr. Nelson said, is very shallow, perceive that, and then do some things to ground yourselves. Go for a walk. I love what Dr. Nelson shared about the alternate nostrils. There's also alternate nostril breathing, and that sense of bilateral stimulation that we use through EMDR and through other techniques when we go for a walk. If you ever starting to feel tense with someone in your family or even a colleague, I do walking meetings now outside with a mask. Go for a walk. I just did it 2 days ago on Birkholm. I went down, met with a client. We went for a walk right on that, right down there, and it was so great. I loved it. So it was really, it's just such a good opportunity to. You'll notice that when you are walking while you're processing emotions, it's so much more natural that the emotions kind of decompress. And also, it stimulates different parts of your brain when you're walking. It helps you to integrate information, and you'll notice that ideas come. I work with a lot of people on stress management and resilience, but also on imagining and envisioning what it is they want to create. I work with actors and directors and thinking through storylines with authors, and oftentimes I'll have them walk while they're telling me about what they're doing, and you'll notice that all sorts of ideas come forth. So why is that a practice of connection? There are ideas floating around you and inside of you all the time, every minute of every day. We're surrounded by ideas. We're surrounded by concepts. We're surrounded by, you all are business people. We're surrounded by billion-dollar ideas. And who are the people who actually bring those things to life? They're the people who connect with them and then find a way to bring them to life through their body, through their mind. And that requires exactly what Dr. Nelson was talking about. It requires presence and peace of mind. When we are stressed, we disassociate, as he was saying. And when you're in a disassociated state, you are not able to to notice that you're having the big idea. You're not able to process the big idea. You're not able to connect with it in a way that you could really channel it in and make it into a reality. So through using the techniques that he shared and other techniques as well, including mindfulness meditation, which we'll do just a little short one in a few minutes, we developed that ability to be self-aware. So instead of disassociating, which is kind of that, I work a lot with, and historically I worked a lot with veterans, where they get that 1,000-mile stare, and you'll notice it in your own household, when, especially after people have been on their phone a lot, all of a sudden they're like so not present. They're so not connected. Loneliness is a disease of disconnection. It is a disease in many ways of being disassociated from your life itself. When we can reconnect with ourselves and cultivate self-awareness, where we have space between ourselves and the world, where we can perceive an emotion, we can perceive a thought, we can perceive an idea, we have that space, there's creative space in that. So instead of disassociating to create the space where we're not connected to anything, we create space by consciously, through mindfulness, through meditation, taking time each day to do that, but also being mindful while we're in the meetings or in the conversation or at the dinner table, where we're actually in connection with the people we're with or the tasks that we're doing. You know, so many people tell me, like, I just don't have enough time anymore. And oftentimes what happens is when we get stressed, and I mean, my son is in the other room working, I get it, like he's at home still doing school. It's not that we have like so much time that we're going to be able to do everything, and it's just not true. And so what we can do instead is become more mindful about how we do the things we do. I don't have a ton of time to do everything, so I need to be present while I'm actually doing it, because clinical study after clinical study shows that when you are not focused while you're doing something, it can take you twice as long, 3 times as long. So encouraging ourselves to, if I'm doing something, I am totally there. I am totally connected to the task. And if I really spend 20 minutes, you know, every week, totally focused on doing my accounting, which is the thing I least like doing, I am able to get it done fast. It doesn't take me forever. Now, if I have Facebook open and Instagram, which are my favorite ways to distract myself, I don't get it done. All of a sudden it's taken me 3 hours and I'm totally distracted, and I did 4 Facebook posts and I've not gotten anything done. And now that's come out of my time for exercise, or my time for my son, or my time to walk my dog, or do the things that I really want to do and really enjoy doing. The other thing that happens in this disease of disconnection is we get disconnected from really being present with people. And the devices are the #1 culprit in this. So when we tune into our devices, we are completely disconnecting from actual connection, from actually feeling present physically with someone, through being able to connect with their breath, being able to feel, what is that other person feeling? What is that other person perceiving? Or what does that other person want to be sharing in this moment? And in that perception of noticing, connecting with things that they might not even be noticing. I notice sometimes with my clients, I can tell that they're upset and they don't even know why. And so I can feel like discomfort or upset in my body. I'm like, I know that's not mine, because I'm not feeling that flavor of discomfort. So what's going on here, and how can we find it? We can be mirrors like that for each other. And that is a huge part of building resilience, building a family that's connected to each other, building friends that are connected to each other, building companies that are connected to each other, so that I can be in tune with the people I work with. I can be fully present. I can hear what they have to say. I can connect with the heart of what's going on in their lives. Because as we've seen with COVID, I love Denise in the introduction, she's talking about, you know, we've seen people's families and dogs popping up in the Zooms and everything else. We're not disconnected. We used to, when we went to the office, have some perception, like we went to work and left home at home. It was never true. I mean, of course, everywhere you go, there you are. Title, one of my favorite book titles, everywhere you go, there you are. You could put yourself in a cave in the Himalayas, which I've done, and guess what? Your same thoughts come right with you into the cave in the Himalayas. You do not escape yourself. You can go to Costa Rica, to the jungle. You can go to the mountains. You can go on your fancy new boat. Guess what? You're still there. Your relationship problems are still there. Your fears are still there. Your trauma you never dealt with, still there. And it's all waiting for connection. So through the practice of mindfulness, we learn to connect, exactly what Dr. Nelson did, that progressive relaxation technique. It only took us like 3 minutes. And all of a sudden I landed in my body. I went from the distracted state that would take me, you know, however long to do something, to being really present, to being really connected to what's happening here. Now, this is essential. And I'm going to be honest with you. If I meet someone and they're not being present, if they're distracted while they're doing something, I don't want to work with them, because if they're distracted, they're not going to be able to do anything that it is that we're talking about. And their distraction, their disconnection is going to filter over into my life and my disconnection. So I become very attuned to that. And are people willing to be in connection? If people are not willing to be in connection in a relationship, you could go to therapy for the rest of your life. You could try to fix the problem in the office the rest of your life. If they're not willing to be connected to themselves, if they're not willing to be in inquiry to how their mind works and how you can envision a better way, it'll never happen. So I think consciously choosing people who are willing to be in the present moment with you, the connection only happens in the present moment. You can connect with something that happened in the past in the present moment. You can bring it into the present moment, and that's often what's required for healing, like the work that Dr. Nelson does, the work that I do through mindfulness. We help people bring the past into the present moment, but you can only connect with it in the present moment. You can't go back to the past and make connection happen in a place that it didn't, but you can do that in connection in the present moment. And you can only do that when you're present in your body, present with your breath, and present with your mind. Learning to cultivate that sense of self-awareness. I'm aware of the body. I'm aware of the breath. I'm aware of the mind. What happens when we don't do that is, and we get in that disease of disconnection, is all of that gets unfiled. It's like when the desktop on the computer gets really like full of distraction, you can't find the one thing you're looking for. You can't find anything. So that's what starts happening. When you start feeling like you can't find anything, you know, the Dalai Lama says, one of his favorite sayings is, on normal days, I meditate for an hour a day. And when I have a really busy day and don't have time, I meditate for 2 hours a day. Because in reality, the more you have on your plate, the more you need to relax. And if you don't have time, here's a newsflash. Like, every single person on this earth has 24 hours in the day. It's not that you have less time than anybody else. You don't. It's just that you've placed more value on doing something else. So if you have placed more value on, you know, something like watching a sitcom, that means you have more faith. You've placed more value in the sitcom than you have in your own mental wellness. We all have the same hours in the day. Everyone. And some of my clients are people who are like major decision makers in this world. And I swear to God, the more time they spend in mindfulness and meditation, they're like, wow, I don't have to be working 12 hours a day. I can work 4 hours or 5 hours a day. And if I'm totally present and I've created the team around me to get these things done, I'm actually more effective that way. So they've built faith in the understanding that the more time they spend in real, sincere connection with people, that instead of having to work that extra 4 or 5 hours, that they could go to lunch with someone that they find really interesting and talk about their ideas, and that brings more value to what they do, consciously living their time, than it would just spinning their wheels and trying to figure it all out on their own. So living a life of connection becomes fertile soil for the creative process. Creative people are resilient people. When you are excited about your ideas, when you are excited about what you're doing, you're going to want to get out of bed. You're going to want to leave it all on the table so that when you lie down in that bed, your mind has been utilized and you're ready to fall asleep. You know, and you don't do sleep. We're such doers. We value doing so much more than being. And in reality, you can't do sleep. Like, have you ever tried to? I had insomnia for years because I had very bad trauma back in 2000 when I almost died in a car accident. I was an investment banker, talk about like life change shift. But so, you know, I couldn't sleep for years. I didn't sleep like more than 2 consecutive hours. And I used to try so hard to sleep. You can't try to sleep. Sleep comes and gets you. So it's a form of connection, of learning to fall into being in connection with consciousness, because when you sleep, you fall back into consciousness. The same as meditation, but when you meditate, you're aware of what you're doing. So let's just do a little 5-minute meditation. And just the way Dr. Nelson did, he teed it up. He gave us the body progressive relaxation. He gave us the breath. So now we're going to go into it just a little bit more. We're going to use this as a chance to cultivate self-awareness and hopefully tee you up for a day where you can be really connected to all of your ideas, to all of your amazing opportunities that are just floating around you, to all of the beautiful relationships you have and what those relationships are asking for. So close your eyes and just drop in, right? Just like that. Doesn't have to be a whole process. Feel that plane of contact between your body and the surface beneath you. Feeling like you're really being held by that surface, by the air. Feeling that waterfall of sensation down onto that surface you're resting upon. Now notice your mind. Notice if it has leapt to, oh, maybe I should check my phone now that we're checking out, or maybe I should be thinking about something. Now bring it back. Now is the time to just be. To be in full connection with this present moment. So right here, right now, take 3 entirely conscious breaths up from the soles of your feet, up through your whole body, like there's an elevator coming right along with your breath, all the way up through the body. And then as you exhale, make that breath so steady, so calm, that waterfall of sensation moving down through your body, letting the breath help you feel what's here in your body in this moment. Inhaling, breathing up through your whole body, totally present. Exhaling, breathing down through your whole body. This last time on the inhale, silently say to yourself, I am, filling up with all that you are, and on the exhale, silently say to yourself, here. And now, connect with your heart. And start by feeling the beat of your heart. Start to become aware. So if you're listening to your heart, don't think about the things you have to do today. Start by thinking about the why you do what you do. Feel the love you have in your heart for the people in your life, the people that you're working to create this home, this family, this community, this country, this planet. Feel your connection with them. So if you're opening up a web of energy, accessing that energy of connection that streams through all of the people who affect your life in some way. And then feeling the why it's important. Why you do your life's work, why you do all the things you do. Let this feeling bring you to life. Feeling that everything you need, everything you want is here, floating around you in the air, in the plants, in the trees, in nature. In the meetings, in the businesses, in the connection. Feel that all that's required is to connect with that which you need. So feeling the value of connection. Feeling the value of being present. Now we're going to take 3 deep breaths to bring us back into the present moment, fully awake, fully aware, fully connected to the world around us. 3 deep breaths. Feeling that you are arriving in your life with a sense of openness and curiosity. Open to this chance to have a precious human life. Open to feeling alive. And to come back into wakefulness, bring your palms together, rub your hands together, make some heat between your hands. Little things like this help create connection with the present moment, with how you feel, with the energy that's streaming through your body. And then cup your hands over your eyes. Feel that energy calming, awakening the mind. Slowly coming back. So now you can all unmute yourselves. How do you feel? And see if there's anything here that you'd like to share, anything that was a gem or a jewel for you today. Sometimes it's good to hear what resonated with other people because it helps us understand ourselves even more fully.
Dave?
So I have a confession. When I was looking with my hands over my face, I peeked through the fingers to see who else was doing it.
Was everyone doing it?
Yeah, Molly, real quickly, you made a reference to John Kabat-Zinn's book. And, somewhere in there he says, if you're reading this book, you probably shouldn't tell anybody because it's about a certain sense of humility. But since our mutual friends, we gave me that book years ago, this whole journey on the nature of consciousness has been open-ended spiral for me. And it's just been my experience that it's in the, I think Zen says, if you want to do a daily practice, but if you're not doing a daily practice, that too is still being a daily practice. And that kind of makes sense to me, but it's been a game changer for me. I want to thank you and the good doctor for the great work you're doing, because it's something that's simple to do, but it's just not that easy. So I'm glad another disclosure, I was pretty distracted during the first half of the meeting, so I'm sorry I was listening, but I couldn't be
But you're
present.
aware of it, so that's the important
Of course
part.
I am, of course.
I'm going to put in here a link. I have right now there's no like strings attached or anything. I'm giving away 3, oh wait, that's not the right link, hang on. I'm giving away 3 months of free weekly yoga nidras, and those are guided meditations. We just did a little 5-minute one. These are the same types of meditations we use in the military. They are very effective at supporting you. That link, the MailChimp, or you can find it on my website. But every week I'll send you a meditation on a different topic, whether it's sleep or pain, and I'm just doing it to help. There's no like anything, it's just for you. So if you want to sign up for that, you will get those delivered to your inbox.
Hey, Anne. Anne, do you want to say something? Anne, you're on mute.
Hi, yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, great. I'm not used to wearing my headphones. So no, I really got a lot out of this. I'm so glad the program got recorded today as well, because it's what you've said to us is so beneficial, especially during this time, as we kind of come out of our coma, so to speak, as we're going to start re-engaging probably with the world, with getting together with meetings more one-on-one. it's just, I know myself, it's just, you know, we've kind of been in a cocoon and we need to come out of it. So thank you for the instruction,
Mm.
the tools, I should say.
I was just reading about the metamorphosis process the other day with my son, and I hit this thing that was so amazing in there that I never knew, which is that there are these things called imaginal cells that when the caterpillar liquefies in the cocoon, these imaginal cells that know how to become a butterfly, they like find each other. And I feel that's what happens in things like this. Like we find our ideas, we find our connection, and then we're able to bloom. So I love that cocoon metaphor. Hopefully we've been incubating and we can fly.
And I think, Molly, too, I really appreciated, I think there's something about that connectivity and talking about resilience is so many things, we don't have to do them perfectly. You know, the idea is that to do something is meaningful. And so the idea of these practices isn't to be perfect, isn't to do it consistently, all that. I think that really that mindset of just exploring and seeing what's out there. You know, I always explain to people, I said, you know, we often run on scarce resources. We where's mine? Where's mine? Where's mine? And I always try to tell them, you know, we never in mathematics have a shortage of sevens. And so when you think about life and love and money and resources and attention, is if you can change your mindset to where it's all around you, it's a matter of that connection of being real, being present, all of a sudden it takes away a lot of the fears that we have. And it's so neat to see people creative and to experience life with their eyes open and feeling empowered and feeling like there's enough. I think this is just such a great opportunity to slow down and to recognize some of that.
Mhm.
So
Definitely,
true.
it's taught us that, I think, in terms of the breathing and the connectivity. I just want to thank you personally for the gift of today. It has been immeasurable, our connection and being better people, because we can control what we need in breathing and connection. Namaste, everyone.
Mm,
Thank
Namaste.
you.
Have a
Thank
great
you.
day. Thank you.
thank
Love you.
Love you too. Have an amazing day.
All right. Bye-bye.